Here's my thing. I hate, this is going to be a pet peeve for you. Isn't it annoying when someone says, hey, I'd like to take you to lunch. There's things I'd like to pick your brain.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
like no reciprocation of value. There's energy and then there's energy sucker. And I look back and all the times people I went up to and said, I'd like to take you to lunch. I know they're cringing, but search for an increase, just something of like, as soon as you see that person has a need, offer to fix that need, provide something.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, we got Jon Parsons here today from Baltimore, Maryland, right?
Yeah, I flew out of Baltimore. I live by Annapolis.
Okay.
So about 40 minutes away from the airport there.
Nice. You born and raised out there?
I was born in Southern Maryland. I was born in Florida, but lived most of my life in Southern Maryland.
Okay.
So,
Growing up, were you always entrepreneurial into business?
I was. As a younger kid, at one point, I bought 22 shovels from a Lowe's and went out, stood at the corner, and sold them for triple the price when the snowstorm started.
You were that kid?
Yeah, I was. Which actually I found out later wasn't necessarily an ethical business move. But I was posting ads in the classifieds at 12, 13 years old. I made Christmas wreaths, went around the neighborhood. Wow. So it definitely goes back for a while. There was a period after where I kind of fell away from it, but.
Okay. We'll dive into that.
Yeah.
Where do you think you got the entrepreneurial side? Was it from your parents?
So I think that I don't necessarily think it was from my parents. I think it might have been, I might have been partially my older brother, and then part of it was just it. I don't take instruction or authority very well.
Right.
So being able to kind of like do what I want and control that has been kind of like the biggest motivator in that.
Yeah. So you were not a school kid then?
No, I was homeschooled.
Oh, nice.
And I graded my own work.
Really?
Yeah. So, well, once it got to like 8th grade or whatever. So,
Okay.
I don't know if my mom would be happy with me admitting that, but it did get to the point where I was grading my own stuff. And so, no, I hated school. I never felt like it was giving me anything like useful at all. So
I do hear with homeschool, the one kickback is the social stuff.
yeah, that was huge. That was huge because I know that church was like, I got to play basketball for 30 minutes after church, and then homeschool people have this weird thing called co-op where you get together and order oats and honey in bulk and just be like, just be weird with their turtlenecks and so like they would all get together and like order stuff bulk, and then when it comes in, like they share it. But that was like the one opportunity every month where I got like a full hour to actually play with other kids. And so that part sucked. So I had absolutely no social, like as a 18, 19-year-old, even then, like after moving out, like no social skills. So that was the biggest
tough,
struggle.
especially as a kid, because you want to just have friends and play sports and do all that stuff.
Absolutely. That sucked.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you on social media at all at the time?
No. So not at all. I didn't, I'm a little bit older than I look. I'm 32. So at that time, I did sneak a MySpace when I turned like 16 years old, but that's no, I wasn't.
That was before my time. I didn't catch the MySpace.
No,
wave.
yeah,
I
you
hear
didn't
about it a
miss
lot.
anything. Yeah,
I caught the Facebook wave in middle school. That was cringe. Yeah, that was a weird phase.
It was.
Yeah, now it's just like grandmas that use it.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
I only use Instagram. I use TikTok just to study like what's viral, but I don't know.
I feel like Facebook is okay for like super local, like kind of seeing what's going on like locally, not necessarily like from abroad.
Yeah. There's some good groups on there.
Yeah.
If you're
you can get leads. I can get leads from roofs and things like that because you're pretty much friends with like the local people.
Yeah. So you didn't go to college?
I actually did. And that was actually, I attribute that to being one of the worst decisions I've ever made. I had gone like the very stereotypical, path of like college. And then I got like a regular 9 to 5 immediately after. And I think that going that route ended up turning what led to the initial depression of like, how am I going to actually leave an impact or make an impact on this earth following and the masses?
Right.
So I did. I got a bachelor's degree in business administration.
Wow. You made it through, man.
Congrats.
I did. I did not.
Yeah.
I was depressed.
Congratulations.
I was depressed for sure.
Yeah.
And I wasn't fat though. So we'll dive into that.
Yeah.
I've always had the opposite issue. I'm skinny. So I've had trouble gaining weight.
There you go. So you're on that Greek yogurt.
Yeah. Which everyone's so jealous of, but it's like a blessing and a curse because I can eat so much and I don't gain weight. It's crazy.
Yeah. See, I can have a bad weekend and I put on some fluff.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have to stay very active and watch what I eat for whatever reason. I don't know why. It all goes into one place too.
I feel that. Yeah. How many pounds did you get up to at the peak?
So it wasn't necessarily the pounds that were a problem. It was like where it was going. So like, you know, I was basically an 8-monther, you know, a visceral 8-monther.
Dad bod.
Yeah. Visceral 8-monther, you know, hide the cheese, hide the whiskey. Your boy's about to clean the pantry out, you know? So, yeah, that's kind of where it was.
Okay. So how'd you get through that phase? Was that all of college, all 4 years?
So no, that was probably after, honestly.
After.
Yeah. So that was after. And I think that me getting to that point was way more mental than it was physical. It was mental things that I was dealing with.
And during college, did you have that mental struggle too?
Yeah, I think so, because there was no way to tie in what I was working on into a bigger picture that you could say this is going to leave an impact on this earth. Like, what am I going to do? And this isn't a knock to everyone that goes to college. Like, doing something other than that isn't for everybody. But I definitely just felt, I think, in my subconscious that I was working towards something that couldn't possibly lead to something great or exceptional. You know, like the best case scenario is I get a job coming out of college making $60,000 and can't wait for the weekend and I'm watching the clock, can't wait for 4:30. And that's what happened.
Right.
So
it happens to almost everyone.
It does.
Which is crazy.
It's the scariest. To me, it's the scariest.
Happened to me in school, just looking forward to weekends and, you know, hating Mondays. Now I just appreciate every day.
That's all you can do.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should. Yep. And you know what, like you're here, you said you have 7, you know, and like you're living it. You started this, you said 13 months ago.
Yeah.
Yep. And like, imagine if you would have put all this last 13 months in energy into finishing your degree. That would have been the worst thing you could have done, right?
Terrible.
Can you imagine?
Would have cost me money. I mean, I wouldn't have learned anything useful in life.
The opportunity cost.
Yeah. I lasted a year, and you know, being from an Asian background, education is really important because that's how my mother got out of poverty because of education. And
it was a different era too. Like it was a little bit different then. The cost of living was so much lower and things like that. So, and it did help a lot of people, especially, you know, immigrants and things like that, get out of, because that just getting, you know, a $50,000 or $60,000 salary coming from what they're used to. I mean, that could be a life-changing.
Yeah. My mom came here with $20 in her pocket. Didn't speak
English.
See,
that's admirable though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I'll never knock her for it. It's a different era. Education was super important.
Right.
She got like straight A's and that's awesome. Yeah. But for me, and I think for our generation, it's a new movement. It's not about getting A's. It's about learning useful things and applying it.
Exactly. And it's more important than ever. You know, I advise if someone isn't going to do entrepreneurship to learn a skill in a trade and just be as valuable as you possibly can, as opposed to learning something that's going to look good on paper. Yeah. Because I think the times are changing a little bit in that aspect.
Absolutely. So did you have massive debt coming out?
It wasn't too bad. I did have a partial scholarship playing golf. Okay. So that paid for some of it. But I did have a significant amount of debt. I mean, any amount of debt to go do something like that is too much, right?
Yeah, especially at that age, because you're just starting out. You're trying to take some risks, and it's hard when you have debt.
Right. And so I definitely wish that I would have used that time to go and meet important people and become useful and learn a skill learn a skill and master that.
For sure. Yeah. So what was that first kind of business you started when you got out?
So I started a construction company in 2018. And it was actually initially mold remediation, and it kind of turned into a full service construction company. And that company was called Parsons Restoration. And so that was the first one. And I learned more. I rose, that went well for the first few years. It kind of crashed some towards the end, but I learned more from that first 3 years in business. I bet. The trial and error, that's where I learned more in any given day doing that than I did in all of the years.
I bet. Yeah. When you get thrown in the fire like that, for sure.
That's the only way to learn.
That's how they should have business classes in college. They should just say, yo, go follow this person around all day for 6 months.
That's what they should do. You know, the only trouble would be getting the person that's being followed around to agree to it.
Right. And they'd have to think of some way to compensate them, whether it's money or, I mean, I'd rather give them my tuition to that person.
That's
follow them around as a mentor, right?
Exactly. And so I think getting close to the money, getting close to those people that have the life that you want to have, and then becoming valuable to them, no matter what it is, you know, whether it's, you know, offering to be their human footstool, you know, follow them around with a fan and offer them gentle breezes all day long or whatever it is. Yeah. You know, I'm just joking about that, but to find a way to be valuable to the important people and even accept little to no money for it. Like literally ask for nothing in return. I would have done that. I would have much preferred go work for someone for free for 4 years.
100%. I think I got to look through my emails. I probably still have this. I emailed Gary Vee.
Oh,
I
really?
said, yo, I'll work for you for free, dude. Like,
really? And so he's big on that as well. I think I've heard him talk about people should start doing that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
It's
I
genius.
did at first.
Did it work out?
He didn't respond, but I would just send that email or DM to anyone that I admired. And I don't remember who accepted it, but probably Dan Fleischman.
Right.
Yeah, he was like my first mentor.
Yeah.
Mentorship is crucial though.
It is. It's huge. And you said who was your first mentor?
Dan Fleischman.
Okay. And how are you able to, because here's my thing. I hate, this is going to be a pet peeve for you too. Isn't it annoying when someone says like, hey, I'd like to take you to lunch. There's things I'd like to pick your brain.
Oh my god.
There's like no reciprocation of value. There's energy and then there's energy sucker. And it sounds a little bit rude to be like, that's annoying when people do that. Cause like I look back and all the times people I went up to and said, I'd like to take you to lunch. I know they're cringing, but instead of that, to have the mindset that you did of like search for a crease, just something of like, as soon as you see that person has a need, offer to fix that need, provide something and ask for nothing in return.
That's what you have to do, man. Yeah. I hate when people pull out the lunch or the coffee card. It's like so cringe, dude.
It is, because it's like and it sounds selfish to say what's in it for me, but if you accepted, I guarantee it, if you accepted every lunch offer to get your brain picked, then you probably would be overweight. Because you would do nothing but eat lunch all day long.
I'd have lunch for free for 10 years probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a good offer, guys. You got to change it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you get your first mentor?
So I like to keep my mentors in categories. So somebody who's especially good in business might not be the best health advisor, or might not be the best advice for like relationships or mental health. So I've had a bunch of different mentors. My older brother has been a big mentor for me. He's a traveling musician and things like that. And he's always been the type that just jumps off the cliff and pulls his parachute out on the way down, like figures out how it works on the way down type of a mindset. So he's been a massive role model for me. And then there's other times, like there was a situation, there was a guy at the time who was way further along in business than me. And I was just like, I didn't ask him to go to lunch. And I was like, how can I add value to this guy? One day I see him posting on Facebook, and he said, I don't know what to do. I've had, I think it was like probably during and all of his team had and my guys didn't. And I was having a somewhat slow week. So I called him up and I said, hey dude, you can have half of my guys. And I literally lended him my guys, asked nothing in return. And then guess what happened? He started answering my calls.
Wow.
And when I had questions, and it was also a mold remediation company. So, and when I offered the guys, I was, I was doing it out of the kindness of my heart, but it was not gonna lie, it was me kind of searching for a way to add value to somebody who was important.
You were thinking long-term.
I was, and it paid off for me.
That's the way to think, man. A lot of people are trying to think in one transaction at a time, but you got to think it's chess.
Yes, it's chess. It's delayed gratification.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's major. Yeah. Do you believe success is volatile?
So I think that success is kind of like eating a burrito on a roller coaster. You got Senorita sitting next to you, and you're having a little fiesta. It's a good time. And next thing you know, you're choking on a ghost pepper. And somebody's gonna have to have some milk. Otherwise, Senorita's gonna hop in Big Poppy's cart over there. So I use that analogy to basically say like, you can fall off a high horse really quick. And look at it like this: like success is so volatile. Like, what do you consider to be success? Like health, relationships, reputation. Right now, you could say the wrong thing and you're canceled. Right now, you could go for your doctor's checkup and get horrific news, God forbid. Yeah. You could ask Mike Tyson what happened to his money. So like, I think that knowing that success is so volatile, like the fear of like losing what you've built and create, can keep you on your toes. But then I think also knowing that you could recover from anything. Like right now, I guarantee you truly believe that if this entire podcast was stripped from you, Jersey Champs was stripped from you, everything you ever built was completely stripped from you, you could build it back up very quickly. Yeah. And that like the just knowing that you could overcome just about anything happen to you is what helps stay focused and driven, I think.
Yeah, I love that. The skill set doesn't go away. The businesses might, but
Yeah.
I've done many businesses at this point, and I've learned something from each one, and now I can do stuff much faster. I pulled this off in 13 months. If I start another podcast tomorrow, it'd probably take me 6.
Right. No, exactly. And so you're starting from scratch. You're starting from experience.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I heard that, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
You hear this quote a lot about like you should stay humble.
Yeah.
Do you believe in that?
So I 100% believe in it, but I do think there's two sides. I think that we are in a day and age where it is popular and cool to post only you're out at clubs and you're beer bonging and all this stuff, and everyone's like cheers that on. But the second you post anything remotely like look what I did, look what I've accomplished from all my delayed gratification, you're suddenly judged as like a show off. You know, you have like Grant Cardone, who you had on the show recently. He was straddling his jet in his picture, and it's like I do think he deserves like all the things that he sacrificed. He deserves to be able to say like this is what I've accomplished. But at the same time, being humble is so important. And here's why: as soon as you get to the point where you're like, I made it, like I made it to the top. I'm the suddenly you're closed off to improvement because where else is there? What else is there to learn? So I think remaining humble allows you to be open-minded and continue to grow. Because arrogance, I think there's a hard stop at growth. Yeah,
arrogance and ego. It's a tough thing for me to work with people that have that.
It's not attractive.
Yeah, because you have to admit you're not always going to be right. So when you come to a disagreement with someone and their ego and their arrogance kicks in, they won't even want to move or adjust.
100%, and a big part of even like business strategy can be oftentimes playing dumb and just saying, "Look, I don't know anything about this." Like when I meet with my accountants, I'm like, "You could be telling me anything. I don't know." You know, if I'm closing on a property, you know, with the closing officer, they're explaining something. I don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain that to me like I'm 4?
Right.
You know, so I think that's important.
Some people are afraid to look stupid, right?
They are afraid to look stupid, and I think that it's like this. Pick any movie that's ever come out where there's a hero. Every single movie, there's a scene somewhere towards the beginning where they embarrass the out of themselves. Imagine if.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
In our own lives, so we're the hero, right? We're the main character in our own movie. Imagine if we arrived to that scene in that movie and we turn around and walk away. We'll never get to see what happened at the end. You're going to see an alternate ending, but you watch a movie where there's that hero, if that scene doesn't happen, there's no movie. They go home, they lived a boring life, they died. That scares me.
That's true. Yeah, you got to be willing to. I mean, I got some things I still think about that are, you know, me in weird situations, but I had to do it to get to the next level. Yeah,
and I'm sure that because with what you've accomplished, you've had to be in some big rooms with some big people.
Yeah,
some really big people, and you didn't get there by being a know-it-all. You know, you went to people and you learned, but I'm sure there are times where you.
Oh yeah. There's some cringe moments. I mean, you know, we grow up and we think that people get impressed by certain items or objects, and some people don't.
Right.
And you come across as like you're flexing it. That's not who I really was at the time, you know?
Right.
You live and you learn.
Yeah. That's all you can
do. You had one interesting thing you said on your Instagram. You said, be careful who you share plans with.
So when it comes to that, there is no quicker way to have your vision, the fire in your vision, fizzled out by sharing it with people who don't get your vision or are not necessarily qualified to. Like God shared the vision with me. He didn't share it with anybody else. And the biggest risk of sharing your secret with those, not secret, your vision, sharing your vision with people is that they are going to potentially talk sense into you. Imagine if somebody 13 months ago would have talked sense into you. They could have told you they could have convinced you, or not you, but it's just, there's nothing good that can come from sharing your vision. Now, at the same time, I think there's a difference between sharing your vision and sharing a secret. Like, I think that I like to give away free information. So I don't think there's anything wrong with giving away free information, but a vision, just keep that protected because. Yeah.
Got to be very careful who you tell. Even family, you can't tell. Sometimes.
No, that's a fact because your plan, like to get 1 million subscribers on YouTube, that was delusional. It's not realistic. It's delusional. It's borderline impossible, you know? And so that delusional optimism was the difference.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And if you tell some normal person that vision, they're just gonna absolutely shit on it.
Yeah. All day.
Yeah. And it sucks when it's family, but it's part of it.
It is. Yeah. And that's actually been one of the most difficult parts, or just about anyone that has had any level of success. They really struggle with family and friends and anybody that knew them, especially people that knew them before, like people that knew you before who you are now. You know, it's probably feels different when you're around them, you know, like,
so for sure. There's not many still left.
Yeah. They fall by it's like the you've changed thing. You know? Yeah. It's like, isn't that the point?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be that guy anymore.
You're supposed to change.
Yeah.
Man. Even in relationships, like you're supposed to change and evolve.
Together. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate when people say, oh, you've changed. Like, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Hanging
Thank you.
out with better people and getting inspired, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you grow up in a small town, that's all you know. But you got to broaden your horizon a little bit.
Yeah.
Travel the world a bit, get some new perspective.
That's right.
There's people that still live in my high school town where they grew up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw you when you talk about trial and error, you tried LA, right, for a bit.
Tried LA, tried Vegas, and stuck with Vegas.
Yeah.
LA's not for me.
Yeah. And why was that?
Well, it was during so I don't know if I gave it a fair chance, but it was just not much going on, and I felt unsafe actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking about this yesterday. I'm surprised, like here in Vegas, like just how, at least where I've been, how clean the streets and everything was. It felt clean and safe to me.
Compared to New York City, probably.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Compared to New York City or Baltimore or anything like that.
Baltimore's dirty?
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I've never been there.
You've probably been there almost as much as I have.
Really?
Yeah, I've been there a handful of times. I go there for the airport.
Damn, okay. So you're in and out.
Yeah, I'm not. So like where I'm near like Annapolis area, and that's like a kind of a more quiet like boating community.
Yeah.
And seafood and then there's in Annapolis there is some stuff to do and places to kind of, so it's a nice balance between like stuff to do and then like kind of a quieter.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing like here.
I love seafood, man. So I'll definitely check it out. Are you there mainly for family?
Yeah. That's just kind of where like I've always been, but I actually recently I just very recently moved an hour and a half away from my hometown. Okay. And so for me, that was a compromise because I'd built a business there and it's a service-based business, Pinpoint Innovations. So I don't want to say couldn't, it didn't make sense for me to completely uproot. So what I did is I moved an hour and a half north, got away from my hometown. It's a completely different area, different vibe. It's way different. And so I got to move away. And that was very important and crucial in my growth. But it's also close enough where I can still operate the business.
Yeah. When I moved, such a big step, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you say is the main reason why?
I think it's different for everyone, but I was in Jersey, which is not a state for entrepreneurs for the most part.
So I've been there once or twice.
Which town did you go to?
I went to like the stereotypical like Atlantic City area.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's New Jersey, right?
That's white trash. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy, dude. I think the squirrels were on crack.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen how the squirrels act there?
Yeah,
they're
freaky,
like,
right?
Yeah, they're weird. One of them was like eating his tail.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah. Don't get around a crack squirrel.
Yeah. Get out of Jersey if you're into entrepreneurship, guys. Yeah. It really changed it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to be near a big city, I'd say.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I am looking to kind of grow my business network into the Baltimore area and then, north of Annapolis. So that is nice that I'm moving up away, being closer to the cities, and I've been to some really nice network events for real estate and things like that. So
you're big in real estate?
People. Yeah, I'm obsessed with real estate.
Yeah.
And So I recently got into buying rentals using what's called the BRRRR Method. Okay. So the BRRRR Method is an acronym for people who don't know. It's an acronym. It stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So essentially, it's a way to not use your own money to buy a house, fix it up. And then once it's fixed up, you get it reappraised for a higher value. Then once you get it reappraised for a higher value, so let's say that you bought it for $150, you put $50,000 into it. Now you're $200,000 all in. But let's say you get it appraised now and it's $350,000 in value. Then I can refinance for say $250,000. I get all my money back. So everything that was lended to me to buy the house in cash, I pay them back. Now I have the house. It's refinanced in what's called a DSCR loan. So it's a 30-year fixed loan. And I have $100,000 in equity in the house. And then I have a renter paying my mortgage for me. And there's cash flow. And the house is appreciating in value. So in 30 years, a $300,000 asset will now be worth $1 million because every 30 years, it averages to about triple or more in value. So it's been a game changer for me. And I've actually, using $0 of my own money in the past year, I've been able to get into 7.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, man.
Yeah. But you talk about moving close to a city. I thought I was hot for a little bit on the inside. I'm like, wow, I'm doing big things. But then I met a guy just last week. His name was Nick, and at a networking event. And he, in the past 5 years, he's at 92.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people to move, because you can easily become the top person in your town.
And it just opened my mind. I'm like, what am I in? And I know that 7 in a year, like that's in my first year of doing that is good.
Really good.
But at the same time, I'm like, man, it's so important to get around people like that. We were like, I'm not thinking big enough.
Yeah.
Like I'm not,
Wow.
And,
So you don't use your own money. So you're using a credit card?
No, so I'm using what's called a hard money loan. So so at first when you start, the deals on the money is very expensive. So you're going to pay a lot in interest. Now it's still going to be worth it because you're going to have so much equity in the house and things like that.
Right.
But typically, I started out using hard money loans where they lend 90% of the purchase of the home and the renovations. So you have to come up with like 10%.
10%.
So my first deal, I had $130 in the bank that I ever did. And I had $130 in the bank, and I got a signed contract from somebody to buy the house. Didn't have any money. I called the hard money lender on my first one, and I said, hey, I have this deal. I sent it over. They lended me 90%. Now I have 8 days left to close on the house, and I have to come up with $30,000 that I didn't have. It took me about 50 or 60 phone calls, friends, family, to get that $30,000 lent to me. And then I was able to close on the house, do the renovations, and then refinance, get all my money back, and then do it again.
Wow.
So that's been pretty huge. But now, once you actually get a few, then you start meeting private individuals who will lend you 100% of the purchase and the renovations.
Because of your track record.
Because your track record. And then that's where the getting on social media has really helped, because I bought 3 units last month, 3 properties, and I actually spent $0.
Holy crap.
He literally wired me to the money. And this is not like a dime in the rough. Like, these people are everywhere. Wow. Like, once you get into these networks and you start meeting these people, when they hear that you're having success doing the BRRRR method, they will lend it.
And what interest is it at?
So they usually are about 2 to 3 points up front. So if it's a $200,000 loan, you're going to spend $5,000 or $6,000 in interest right off the bat. Okay. And then every month you have to pay a percentage of the loan interest only. So on a $200,000 loan, you're going to spend $5,000 or $6,000 up front, and then you're going to spend about 1% of the loan amount per month. So like $2,000 a month. Okay. So the average one takes about 4 months. So in the end, you end up spending about $14,000, $15,000 in interest
to get $200K.
Yeah.
Dude, that's nothing.
No, it's nothing. And especially like my last one, after I refinanced it, when I refinanced it, I actually, not only did I get my money back, I got an extra $10,000, and I could have done more, but I just wanted the keep equity in the house. So anyways, I had $130,000 in equity in that house. And what's really cool is when you get the money, like when you refinance it, you get the money back, it's not taxed. Wow. Because it's technically leveraged by debt. So this is like, I don't want to say invented by Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad author, but he's the one that made this method really popular.
I've seen him talk about how he has $1 billion in debt. So
yes, and he brags about it. Yes, it's the exact same. I got it. It was the first book I ever read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So that method is pretty awesome, because here's the thing. People are like, oh, but you could sell the house and get $130,000. Okay, but then guess what happens? I'm paying taxes on that $130,000 in profit, because that's profit.
Capital gains.
So instead of doing that, you're so much better off refinancing it, having $130,000 in equity. Now your net worth just went up $130,000 untaxed. And then if you want money, instead of selling it, get a $130,000 line of credit and live off the debt. So instead of selling it, if you sold it, you'd be living off the cash. So what's the difference if you're living off the debt? Now that is not taxed. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit in interest, but that's some cheap money.
Yeah.
And you're way better off living off of debt and having equity in all these homes. So Robert Kiyosaki has $1 billion in debt, but I don't know what is how much equity he has. I mean, it's probably
It's got to be a lot at this point.
It's probably is near $1 billion.
Yeah, because he's done it for so many years.
Right.
40 years.
So exactly. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if and the thing is, like, he's literally he's living a life of a billionaire paying nothing in taxes. You can't pay taxes on equity in a house. Like, it's just on paper.
Yeah. I pay more in tax than Trump.
Yeah.
He pays $0.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's how I know I'm not doing it right. I
Yeah.
need to get into real estate this year.
Yeah. Well, that would be awesome. And if you ever, I might not be the number one person to go to for that, but I do know people I could connect you with.
Cool. Yeah, I'd love that. Dude, it's been
awesome.
fun getting to know you, man. Anything you want to promote or close off with?
I would just say that anybody in life who says that it's not that simple, it's from that Instagram reel where they're like, what's the biggest lie you ever told?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, it's not that simple. She said, no, like, what is it? He's like, no, that's the biggest lie I was ever told, is it's not that simple. It is that simple. And as long as you're willing to wake up and get kicked in the balls and then choose to be happy, then you are going to have an amazing life. And if you're not willing to get kicked in the balls, then you're going to get kicked in the balls anyways.
Right.
And you're going to probably have a miserable life.
Perspective, right?
Perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
So
love that.
it is that simple, and be willing to do what you have to do regardless of how you feel, and every single day. And it is that simple.
That's bars, man. Let's end it
Awesome,
there.
man.
I love it. Thanks for coming on, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
All right.